I usually don't do these top list thingies, but since I played such an insane amount of video games this year, and there are several ones I'd love to talk about but don't really have the time to make a single video for, I thought I might as well make an exception and do my own favorite games list of 2016. Keep in mind that the following games are not ranked or objectively the best, it's just the ones I personally got the most out of simply according to my own preferences. Let's get to it. Let's start off with XCOM 2. I don't think I've played a game that made me more anxious and tense as XCOM 2 has, well, maybe the first one. While it is true that XCOM 2 had serious technical issues at the beginning, like crashing, bad frame rate or connectivity problems in multiplayer, I still had a blast with it, and at least they fixed those issues by now. Being able to customize your elite unit and carefully planning every step in this turn-based strategy game is so exhilarating sometimes that I don't even wanna play it, cause it's kinda stressful honestly. However, the rewarding feeling I get from finishing a mission and seeing every one of my squad alive far outweighs that initial hurdle. Combine this with an awesome soundtrack and tough decision making along the way and you got yourself a pretty cool turn-based science fiction game. Moving on in the trend of unstable games, Division is a love and hate relationship for me. On one hand, Division offers me the kind of gameplay I always wanted from games like Borderlands, an RPG-like shooter that does put a focus on numbers but also offers me the ability to use the environment to my advantage. The environment, while kinda small in the long run, is expertly designed, and each block looks very distinct with an attention to detail that is almost aggravating, to be honest. I played through the campaign with a friend and we had quite a blast. Add that with the recent Survival Mode DLC and this is pretty much my favorite multiplayer game. On the other hand though, it's not a secret that this game can get insanely monotone and boring if you play it alone. Story-wise, while the infected biohazard money crisis is an interesting plot and the factions are pretty nice as well, it's never really going anywhere. This is just all the more annoying if you had the several technical issues people still have. But at least Ubisoft seems to finally be getting their shit together and fix their damn game. Though I can't dismiss how much fun I've been having betraying strangers in a dark zone or simply doing daily missions with friends while trying out different skill sets. Taking a break from these AAA games, Momodora Reverie Under the Moonlight is honestly the best side-scroller I played this year. It's the fourth installment of the Momodora series and its prequel story. Besides the enticing art direction, I was quite pleasantly surprised about how well the character controls. The combination of melee and ranged attacks, added with some rolls and jumps, makes for a very fluent experience that is just fun to get back to once in a while. As you may have guessed by the map, it's one of those Metroidvania-like games, but I wouldn't disregard it as just as one of those since the whole package is just way too polished. Definitely give that one a shot if you like those kind of games. Fun fact, I never played the original Doom, besides Brutal Doom that is, but oh boy, did I have fun with Doom 4. I think the best aspect about Doom is the feeling of momentum. This comes with its fast movement, no reloading for your weapons and a relentless spawning in of new demons and the like. It's the only game where I screamed out of joy, cause it's just good old shooting fun. It's gory as hell mind you, but if you can't stomach that, you have yourself one of the most enjoyable shooter games I've personally ever played. Multiplayer is pretty forgettable besides the make your own map snap map mode, but well, the main campaign totally made up for that. Interestingly enough, this game has like the best soundtrack out of all the games I talk about in this video, and I don't even really like metal, but this... yeah, this fits the mood just right. I already talked about OneShot, so I'll keep it very short. It comes down to having a lovable main character and a unique gameplay mechanic that left quite an impression on me. Sorry for being so vague again, but you know, spoilers and stuff. Moving on. Mankind Divided almost didn't make the list. The sequel of the well-beloved Deus Ex prequel, Human Revolution, had a lot of hype around it when it came out. The hub world Prague is packed with interesting detail and alternative routes to discover. Side stories are varied and fun to get into. Gameplay can be played lethal and non-lethal quite well. And the main character is pretty much one of the coolest and hottest ones since Riddick, just for the voice alone.
I just came from the Hau'Oli complex, Felice. Golem City.
But the main story is basically just a tease that doesn't get anywhere. Feels way too much like sequel baiting. Still had lots of fun though, playing in this alternative reality setting where humans and cyborgs are struggling to coexist. I was never the biggest Pokemon player. I played some of the early generations and started again with X and Y, which was alright. For Sun and Moon, Nintendo's marketing tricks worked quite well on me, so I was super hyped to finally get it to play myself. And I'm glad to say that this recent Pokemon is the best one I've played so far. The trials, taking the role of the old gym badges, was a welcoming change. Team Skull is freaking hilarious, and the characters you meet were just pleasant to interact with. Design-wise, I liked most of the new Pokemon, and the many subtle and bigger changes to the mechanics, like the movement system for example, which helped to make my Pokemon adventure more fun rather than as tedious as some of the previous titles. The endgame is decent too, so I don't even have much to complain. Well, besides the shitty frame rate and double battles. I'm using the new 3DS by the way. And the idiotic choice to split up the available clothing between the Sun and Moon cartridge. Yes, I know, you can get the color from the other version via the plaza, but that's just boring to deal with. So, there you go. Anyway, best Pokemon game I played to date in my opinion. I don't know much about VE 11, let's just call it Valhalla. But when I played it, I got a bit skeptical when I found out that most of you do is just mixing drinks to progress. But the colorful chaos made the seemingly mundane concept quite enjoyable. There aren't many games that do the cyberpunk setting proper justice from what I've heard, but this one seems to be taking on that fictional setting quite well, showing me a world that I very early on wanted to know more about. The actual process of mixing drinks can feel just a bit tedious, but since I actively wanted to help most of my patrons, that aspect didn't bother me too much. Since the game has several different endings, I definitely want to give this one another go in the future. The fascination with war games is weird. Most people see those as tragedies that shouldn't be glorified, yet we love shooting people in these games, even if it's based on real events. It's honestly quite twisted if you think about it. Moral ambiguity aside, revisiting the First World War was just the kind of change I wanted from this multiplayer shooter series. And the detail to which DICE tried to recreate those tough times is quite impressive. Story mode starts off strong, showing the dark and gritty reality of those times as much as I can judge as someone who only read about it but wasn't there obviously. The decision to split the campaign up into 5 ends up with you not really caring as much about these characters as you maybe could have. Most don't really care about that since it's just about the multiplayer for them. And yeah, Battlefield 1 does quite well in that aspect. While there could be more weapons to unlock, the maps offer enough diversity. And the new operation mode is even better than the beloved Wash one. If you're looking for a better First World War story though, I'd recommend Valiant Hearts. And that's pretty much it. As I said before, I played lots of these games this year, so there are several others that were good but didn't quite make the list. Or didn't even come out in 2016 for that matter. I'm just gonna see myself out while you may read through these other games, in case you're interested. I know most of you probably sub for videos that aren't some dumb list with, let's be honest, average production quality at best. But don't worry, the next one's gonna have all that After Effects flair. Since I'm pretty busy in January, it's gonna come out in, let's say February most likely. But other than that, so much from me. See you next year.